breaking the green screen out for today's video.
And there's a strategic reason for this. Recently in Pokemon GO, the Mega system was completely revamped, allowing us all to level up the Mega level of certain Pokemon, leading to bonuses like shorter Mega cooldown times, extra XL candy, and more. Mega Pokemon are more important than ever before in Pokemon GO, which is why today we'll be ranking them in two lists. Or tiers, lists. Categories, two categories. 1, raid usefulness, which also includes XL candy. And number 2, candy usefulness, which is different than XL candy. I'll explain. Also, shout out to Pokedaxi. He did a Mega Pokemon tier list a couple days ago. I wanted to do one too. All right, starting with our raid and XL candy tier list. These are the most useful Mega Pokemon to have leveled up and powered up in Pokemon GO when doing raids, and also the best Pokemon to be getting XL candies for, and best Pokemon typings in general to get XL candies for. And here's how that works real quick. When leveling up your Pokemon to high and max level, you get an increased chance of earning XL candy when you catch Pokemon that are the same type of your Mega Evolved Pokemon. And just a note, you have to have that Pokemon currently Mega Evolved in order to get the extra candy when catching Pokemon of the same typing. But you still get extra XL candies, that's big. And also, as you level up your Mega level with your Pokemon, the Mega cooldown time decreases. If you get high level, it goes from 7 days to 5 days, and if you get max level, it goes from 5 days to 3 days. Which means if you have a Latios at Mega max level, you can Mega Evolve it without having to use any Mega energy every 3 days. So to begin, Mega Kangaskhan is going to be the #1 most useful Mega type. That is an absolute meme. This guy is garbage. Now, the moments that you're going to really need all of these Mega Pokemon will most likely be during legendary raids, because they are the most difficult raids in Pokemon GO. Which means it's pretty important to know, on average, what are the most popular typings for legendary raid bosses in Pokemon GO that we've seen in the past. Upon looking at all the legendary raid bosses that have been in Pokemon GO, these are the most popular typings. We've got Flying with 10 bosses, Psychic, 10 legendary bosses, Dragon, 9. And then there's Fire, Electric, Steel, and Fairy, which have all had 5. Fighting and Ice, which have had 4. So these are the typings you're going to generally want to prepare against. Which means we can now begin! Starting with one of my favorites, Mega Aerodactyl. Gonna be throwing him in at the S tier because Flying type legendary Pokemon and even regular raid bosses are some of the most common in Pokemon GO, and Rock is super effective against Flying. Mega Aerodactyl and other Rock types are also super effective against Fire as well, which is another very common legendary raid boss and normal raid boss that we see, like with Charizard in the raids right now. And the Pokemon that your Mega Aerodactyl is going to boost in Mega raids include Tyranitar, Shadow Tyranitar, Rhyperior, Rampardos, Terrakion. These are big, heavy-hitting Pokemon, and Mega Aerodactyl will boost the attack of all of them. And unfortunately, we don't have Mega Tyranitar yet in Pokemon GO, otherwise he'd be #1. Next typing is Ice, which is this guy, Mega Abomasnow. The one downside about Mega Abomasnow is that it's not that tanky, but we're still gonna put it in the S tier category. Ooh, maybe we bring him down to A. No, it's gotta be S tier because it's so useful, because Ice type is super effective against Dragon and Flying type, which is 2 of the top 3 most popular legendary raid boss typings in Pokemon GO. This guy is a beast. And the Pokemon that Mamoswine will be boosting in raids that are very meta relevant include Mamoswine, Weavile, Galarian Darmanitan, and other Ice types. So again, although he's kind of squishy, definitely deserves the S tier ranking. It's a tragedy to put this guy at A because I think he's an S tier, but next is Mega Gengar. Listen, Mega Shiny Gengar, the best Mega Shiny. The reason why Mega Gengar is at A and not S is because it's so squishy. Mega Gengar is so squishy, and because it's a dual Ghost and Poison type, it's useful, really useful against Psychic type Pokemon, which are the #2 most popular legendary raid boss in the game. But as a Ghost type, it's not as good as Dark type Pokemon when going up against the raids, but it's still a beast. Definitely still A. Love the Mega Gengar. Good stuff, especially when boosting Ghost type Pokemon going up against Psychic types. And the Ghost type Pokemon that Mega Gengar will be boosting and you can get extra XL candies for includes Giratina, Chandelure, Hoopa, regular Gengar, Mismagius, those kind of cool spooky Pokemon. But what you're really gonna want when going up against the Psychic type Pokemon, which again are uber common, is your dark types. So going into S tier is going to be Mega Houndoom. Unfortunately, a Mega that I don't have a whole lot of energy for, and I need to get more because this is the #1 dark type in Pokemon Go, which means it's the #1 counter against the psychic type Pokemon that we encounter in the Mega Raids too, like you see with Latios and Latios right now. Mega Houndoom is going to be boosting Pokemon like Tyranitar, Weavile, Yveltal, Zarude, Darkrai, Hydreigon, all these really cool, awesome, beastly dark type Pokemon that are very useful in raids. Unfortunately, Mega Houndoom isn't like the craziest when it comes to CP, but when it comes to damage per second, this thing is a freaking beast. Speaking of dark types, we have a couple more dark types as well. We obviously have Mega Absol too, which I'm gonna put in at B. I'd put it at C, but it actually is kind of useful because it is the number, what is this? It's the #3 dark type Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and again, dark types, very, very useful. It just kind of lacks CP. It has good DPS. It's a good Mega. It's just not like incredible. And another half dark type Pokemon is actually Gyarados, but I will be putting Gyarados at A. Nope, you know what? Going to B. Actually, going back to A. Because Mega Gyarados is a dark and water type Pokemon, and honestly, water type Pokemon, A, they just spawn a lot. There's cool events happening for them. There's a lot of meta-relevant water type Pokemon. And again, it's also a dark type, so having a good Mega Gyarados will give you coverage over, give you coverage as a Mega Dark and a Mega Water type Pokemon. It's like a dually, you know, it's very helpful in that for that reason. This one's a fan favorite. Megalopunny. We'll be actually putting it in at the A tier. Megalopunny, being a fighting type Pokemon, will be super effective against Steel and Ice and normal types, which happen to flood the tier 1 and tier 3 raids. But Steel and Ice type Pokemon, we do see them quite a bit in the legendary raids and in other raids, so it's just always nice to have good fighting type counters, and Megalopunny is the #1 fighting type Pokemon in the game and will boost the attack of other fighting type Pokemon in raids like Machamp, Hariyama, Lucario, Conkeldurr, and Heracross. Really useful Pokemon. Also, I mean, just like, you know, people love Lopunny. I don't know why. People just love Lopunny. So, you know, max it out. Then we heat things up with Mega Charizard X and Y, which I will be putting in the S tier, and the reason why is because you can evolve one Charizard to either X or Y, whichever one you need for whichever situation you're in. Mega Charizard X and Y are the two top fire type Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and fire types are really helpful against also Steel and Ice type Pokemon, and also Grass type Pokemon. We just see a lot of usefulness coming out of fire type Pokemon going up against raid bosses. And meta-relevant fire type Pokemon that these guys will help you get more XL candies for and boost the attack in raids include Moltres, Entei, Reshiram, Ho-Oh, Charizard, Typhlosion, and Heatran. A lot of legendaries, so it's just nice to have this as a Mega when you're doing any of these legendary fire type Pokemon raids. And it's also great because Mega Charizard X is a fire and dragon type, and as a dragon type, it ranks pretty high amongst the meta. It's a top dragon type, and it will boost the attack of other dragon types and give you XL candies for dragons as well. Also, Mega Charizard Y is fire and flying type, but like flying types are like whatever. Then we've got my most neglected Mega Stelix, which I will be putting at A, and there's a reason why. Well, two reasons why. It is a ground and it is a steel type Pokemon. Steel type Pokemon are really useful in Pokemon Go when it comes to raid bosses. I mean, think Metagross. Like, having good Metagross is very, very key for Pokemon Go raids, so having Mega Stelix, which boosts the attack of your Metagross, super big. But also as a ground type, it's super effective against fire, electric, and steel. Really helpful as a ground type Pokemon. And it will boost the attack of Pokemon like Therian, Landorus, Garchomp, regular Landorus, Rhyperior, Mamoswine, Excadrill, Groudon. All these big tanky ground type Pokemon benefit from Mega Stelix. So generally speaking, when it comes to legendary raids, these are kind of just like the best ones, but obviously we still have more Megas, and we still have a tier list. I think this is Latios. This should be Latios. Latios is going to S tier. Latios is the #1 Psychic type Pokemon and #1 Dragon type Pokemon in Pokemon Go, both of which very useful in the raids. Plus this thing has a max CP of 5,600 if you have it up to level 50, which is absurd. This is like one of the best Pokemon in the game right now, 100%. And its counterpart, Latios, I'm gonna be putting at A, because it technically is the #2 Dragon type and Psychic type Pokemon in the game. So having a good Mega Latios can also be helpful. Then I'm going to throw Mega Blastoise and Mega Venusaur over in B, although Blastoise I think deserves to be in the A. We can't have too many Pokemon in A, because then it just looks like it looks like it didn't try. Mega Blastoise as a water type Pokemon is the #1 water type, and it's also super duper useful because having water types going up against raid bosses, it's just like a really popular Pokemon to need because rock type Pokemon are really popular as raid bosses. So having Mega Blastoise is huge. And then obviously Venusaur to go against the grass types is just great coverage overall. So those guys are great. And then speaking of coverage, actually electric types are really, really nice to have because obviously super effective against your flying, and flying type Pokemon are some of the most common legendary Pokemon in Pokemon Go. Putting Mega Manectric at B and Ampharos at C just because like Mega Ampharos just like, it's not that good. It is nice because it's a dual type dragon and electric, but like way better Mega Dragons, and Mega Manectric is actually pretty significantly better than Mega Ampharos. So if you want that electric typing coverage, your Mega Manectric is gonna be a better bet, but they're both very good. Unfortunately, putting Slowpoke at D, our first D, Slowpoke. I mean, homie just sucks. He just sucks. It's a Mega, and it's ranked like the 7th best water type and like the 4th best psychic. He's just not good. I think he's cool. The shiny is great. It's a fun looking Mega, just not that useful when it comes to going up in the raids. Here, we'll give him a buddy. Mega Kangaskhan, absolutely D tier. I mean, what do you even use this for? It's a Mega normal type. When is the last time you used normal type Pokemon in a Mega raid or a legendary raid? You know what I'm saying? That's a D. Then we've got Alteria. I'm gonna put Alteria at C. Now, Alteria is the #1 fairy type in the game, and fairy types are actually quite useful. And it sort of ranks high amongst dragon type Pokemon, like it's top 10-ish, but again, fairy typing just not the most useful typing when going up against raid battles, at least in this meta, Pokemon Go meta, and then there's just better dragon type Megas. Beedrill will also be going at, I never use Beedrill. Like the most I used Beedrill was like for a YouTube video when I was able to hack its CP. Since then, I don't really use it much. It's going into D. I mean, bug poison type, like, you know, it's the top bug type Pokemon. Sure, as a poison type, it's like top 3, but like, you just don't use it that much, you know? And same thing with Mega Pidgeot, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I know. It's a flying normal type. You never use normal types. When are you using flying types in raid battles? Sometimes you use them, not very often. That's a D. And in my professional opinion, this is the best #1 official tier list of the most useful Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Go when it comes to raids and when it comes to gaining XL candy for the typing of these Megas. So take a screenshot, you know? Maybe make one yourself. Tweet me what your Mega tier list is, because that one's pretty good. Also, let me know in the comments. Rate my tier list in the comments 1 out of 10. Or between 1 and 10. 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. Yeah, no, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Whatever, give me a ranking. And now we reset and we look at the next thing that we're tier listing for. Let's say you're not planning on going out and doing a bunch of raids. You're planning on participating in the Water Festival event where there's a ton of water type Pokemon spawning in the wild, and you want to have a Mega Water type in order to boost the candy and XL candy technically of the Pokemon that you're catching in the wild. That's what this list will be. Okay, so in my opinion, these are the best typings in Pokemon Go to gain candy for, because each typing has like really meta relevant Pokemon that are helpful in PvP and in raids, and just generally have really good Pokemon. Fire, Water, Steel, Ice, and Rock. And then the next best being Psychic, Dragon, Dark, Ground, and Fighting. And the next being Grass, Electric, Fairy, and Ghost. And the worst typings being Normal, Flying, Poison, and Bug. So, let's tier list it up. Very obviously S tier, the Charizards. Mainly for their fire types. Popular fire type Pokemon in Pokemon Go that you get more candy from if you have a Mega Charizard, Charmander, Cyndaquil, Growlithe, a lot of very meta-relevant Pokemon, a lot of very PvP-relevant Pokemon as well in that bucket. Fire types are just so useful, and they spawn quite a bit because we have like a lot of events that feature them. Then we've got our water types, which I'm actually going to put these two at S tier, which is Mega Gyarados and Blastoise. Water type Pokemon like Totodile, Mudkip, Gyarados, Slowpoke are again Pokemon that either have Megas or they're good in PvP or they're good in the raid meta. It's just great candy to have. And again, we've got the Water Festival event happening pretty soon here, where there's going to be a ton of water types Pokemon spawning in game, so you're going to want to have a Blastoise or a Mega Gyarados during this event to maximize your candy gains. It's also pretty important to like look back at past events and see what kind of events have focused on which typings. So these typings kind of factor into that too. Next, we've got Steel, just because Steel is a really, really OP candy typing in Pokemon Go with Pokemon like Beldum, Aeron, Skarmory, great for PvP, great for raids, Mega Stelix, boost that steel type, the steel candy, good vibes. And one of my favorites, Ice, Mega Abomasnow. I mean, every year we have the Christmas events, every single year, and through events like the tour events and Go Fest and just random events, Ice type Pokemon come around quite a bit, but the Christmas, the holiday season is always like nearly a month of Ice-type Pokemon spawns, and there's some really, really good ones, like Snover, Swinub, Galarian Darumaka, Sneasel, Spheal. These are very, very helpful, meta-relevant Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and they're great to have candies for, and there's kind of a lot of really good Ice types. So, man, Abomasnow, chef's kiss. Rock-type Pokemon, you just can't beat him. Mega Aerodactyl has to be S tier. Rock-type Pokemon like Aerodactyl, Larvitar, Cranidos, Rhyhorn, Ammonite, and Roggenrola are either great shinies. They usually have specific events that they're spawning a part of. I know we have like there's like the Mountains event that happens every other year, I think, which is all Rock-type Pokemon. They're all very helpful. Again, Rock-type Pokemon, some of the most useful Pokemon in Pokemon Go because they're super effective against flying, which is one of the most common raid boss typings that we see. I know this isn't for raid bosses, this tier list, but just in general, great typing to have good candies for. Then our A tier, we're actually gonna put the Mega Latios and Latios. Because Psychic-type Pokemon are useful in Pokemon Go. They're great to have. There's, you know, Psychic events that happen where more Psychic types are spawning. They've got popular shinies. It's a cool one. So, yeah, Psychic-type Pokemon, good stuff. And I guess technically, I mean, A, S, A, S, ASS. Putting him in, oh God, we'll put him in S. Fine, whatever, fine. Because Psychic types and water types. Like if you have a Mega Slowbro and you have it highly leveled, you can have free Mega Slowbro evolutions every 3 days, and you can use it during a water type event, you can use it during a Psychic type event. Both typings very helpful. We'll put them in S. Then we've got our Dragon typings. I think Dragon is just like really, really helpful. I'm putting you at B. Mega Alteria is going in at B, because like Fairy type Pokemon, Dragon types are really good, Fairy types are okay. And then actually, Mega, I'll put the Ampharos in at A because, again, Dragon types are helpful. This is also an Electric typing, and Electric typings are really useful, although I will be putting Manectric at B because it is a pure Electric type, and you've got dual type coverage with Ampharos, dual candy typing, you get it. Also at A, we'll go Lopunny because fighting type Pokemon are really, really good, especially for PvP, I think. And there have been plenty of events in the past that have focused on fighting type Pokemon. So having extra candies being caught or captured or acquired when having your Mega Lopunny is awesome. Also putting Houndoom at A because dark type Pokemon are great, and Houndoom is a dual dark and fire type. Really, it might be an S, but we'll keep it at A. Dark type Pokemon are, again, really useful in Pokemon Go, just across Pokemon Go, and there's a lot of fun, like Halloween-esque events. Every year we always have a Halloween event, always focuses on ghost and dark type Pokemon, so having the boost on dark type candies is big for those events, and then again, just fire type Pokemon are super duper useful in game. Speaking of ghost types, we've got Mega Gengar, which I will be putting at B because ghost types, they're useful, they do spawn, more so a part of special events, like yearly events, like Halloween events. It's also a poison type, but poison types don't do much, so we'll keep them at B. And then Mega Absol we're also going to put at B as well, because it's only dark types, but dark types are good. We'll keep it at B. This might spark controversy. At C, we're putting, the first C is going to be Mega Venusaur, because Mega Venusaur is poison and grass typing. Poison typings are so not the most useful. There's a lot of water type stuff happening. We're putting it at C. And then once again, we seem to have the trifecta at D, with these three. Actually, Cap, we're gonna be putting Beedrill at C. Didn't Daxie put Beedrill at S? What does he know that I don't? It's just poison and bug type Pokemon. I'm just not keen on them. Although there's like events that feature bug type Pokemon, and there's a lot of cool ones for sure. I just, you know, I'm putting it at C. And then again at D, it's just like flying type Pokemon and normal type Pokemon. Like, why? You don't need candy for either of those because you're never gonna power up a flying type. Maybe a flying type, still keeping it at D, maybe a flying type, definitely not a freaking normal type. And that's the tier list for the best Mega Pokemon when it comes to extra catch candy in the wild. So now you know which Pokemon to invest your XL candy, and your Mega energy into when it comes to the brand new Mega system in Pokemon Go. Hope you found this video helpful, or at least somewhat entertaining with all the Ds for the normal typings. Sorry. And again, let me know in the comments, what do you think of my tier lists? See y'all in the next video, maybe with a green screen. Peace out.